This is parasternal long axis view. In this view, what you see, this is left atrium. I just want to nomenclature. This is left atrium. This is left ventricle. This is aorta. This is pericardial effusion. Pericardial effusion. This is pleural effusion. This is aorta. So in this case, what you see, so whenever you see this kind of thing, this is parietal pericardium. Here you can easily measure the parietal pericardium quite clearly, because effusion is present on the both sides of pericardium. This is pericardial effusion, this is pleural effusion. So definition wise, effusion that is anterior to this thoracic aorta. This behind left atrial group, this aorta is thoracic aorta. This any anterior to this thoracic aorta is pericardial effusion, and posterior to aorta is pleural effusion, left pleural effusion. This is the finding how to differentiate pleural effusion from pericardial effusion. Probe is, the probe is placed anteriorly. So this is the most anterior part of the image. This is most anterior part of the image. You see, this is also a pericardial effusion. This is most anterior part of the heart. See, and this is the most posterior part of the. So this is anterior. If you just nomenclature it, this is anterior. This is the posterior. So pericardial effusion is anterior to thoracic aorta, and pleural effusion is posterior to thoracic aorta. This is the point to highlight. And whenever you see both pericardial and pleural effusion, the parietal pericardium is easily measured. You see the measurement of parietal pericardium is almost 11 millimeter. 2 to 3 millimeter quite normal. More than 5 millimeters is always abnormal. In this case, is 11 millimeter. So parietal pericardium is quite thickened. Patient is likely to develop constitutive pericarditis on follow-up. So things that you have to remember in this case is how to differentiate pleural effusion from pericardial effusion in parasternal long axis view. Next image, you see in this case, this is thoracic aorta. In longitudinal sections you are seeing, and this portion is pericardial effusion. So pericardial effusion is anterior to thoracic aorta. This is most anterior part of the pericardial effusion, and this is also pericardial effusion that is posterior to left ventricle, but that pericardial effusion is also anterior to the thoracic aorta. This is thoracic aorta in long axis view, longitudinal sections you say. Whenever the pleural effusion will come into view, that will be the posterior to this thoracic aorta. You can see intermittently we get the image of pleural effusion. You see the pleural effusion comes posterior to thoracic aorta. This is pleural effusion that comes posterior to thoracic aorta. See, this is pleural effusion that comes posterior to thoracic aorta. So this case has got both pleural effusion and pericardial effusion. You see the visceral pericardium is also very much thickened, and fibrin binds are quite frequent. So exudate nature of pericardial effusion is likely finding in this case. You can see this is thickening of the visceral pericardium, and this is the thickening of parietal pericardium. This is little bit right sided pleural effusion is also there. Right sided pleural effusion. This is the extent of pericardial effusion inferior to right ventricle. Probe has been placed in subcostal position, so the upper part of image is most inferior part. So the extent of effusion you see in the subcostal view is effusion inferior to right ventricle, because the first structure that you see from subcostal view, that is right ventricle. So effusion is inferior to right ventricle. This portion, the most superior part of the image on the screen is the most inferior part. This is the most inferior part of the image on the screen is most superior part. So we call it inferior to right ventricle. The extent of effusion is in this case 25 millimeter. This is anterior to LV apex. This is again the parietal long axis view. Posterior to left ventricle 1.8 or 1.85, and anterior to right ventricle is 1.84. This is parietal long axis view. So in parietal image, this is the most superior part of the screen is the anterior one. This is the most inferior part of the image on the screen is most posterior one. Thank you.